Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Good morning, guys. I hope you guys are doing fine. And this is the next session which we are doing on JavaScript, which is lesson number 60, right? And we are understanding here JavaScript objects. So just let me check if I'm live and everything is working fine so that we can get started with it. Okay. Okay, perfect. So everything is fine. Let's get started. Now, this is lesson number 60. And yesterday we did one more session which was on HTML interview questions. So here we are with JavaScript objects. And this is the after this topic in JavaScript, we are only going to understand all of the advanced topics, which is lexical scope and um asynchronous functions and all those things, call stack and all those things. So JavaScript objects is the most uh, important one right now, because the other parts whatever we are going to understand is going to depend on class and object. Class you have already seen in the earlier sessions. You have discussed about class and functions. So in this one we are going to understand about object. Today I'm not sure whether I will be doing closures or not, but let's see. If time will be there, then I'll be doing functions and closures, which is also again an important topic. Right now in JavaScript, all important topics we are going to cover. So it's really very important to understand those. Okay, now if anybody is new here and do not know what is happening, what am I saying here? So let me tell you about it. Basically, my name is Ritwik Raj, and I am here providing a full-fledged content course on front-end development, and this is CodeBeyond channel from Unacademy. So we are actually providing a free course so that you can study and you can upskill yourself on all these different languages and frameworks, and then once you are ready for your interview, you can go ahead and give an interview. So let me tell you first about myself. So I am a corporate trainer. I have also worked as a subject matter expert and a research analyst in most of the edtech companies, and I have 3+ years of teaching experience. Plus, I've trained graduates and corporate employees from I reside in Capgemini, and I've trained more than 30K students till now. It is increasing day by day. The subjects which I take is mostly into front-end development, back-end languages, databases, and interview guidelines, tips and tricks. Soon I'll be coming up with one of them on I think 25th of November. I'll be coming up with the first session on tips and tricks on how to crack interviews, part 1. So do not forget to watch that. It will be an interactive session, because there we'll be just talking and clearing our doubts. What difficulties do you face? And I'll be having some points which I'll be discussing also from my personal experience. So do not forget to join that session as well. Now I have a very good news for you, which is you can use my code RIT10 to get a free level sample test paper. Now this code you can use who knows what is Relevel. If you have no idea what is Relevel, then don't worry. In just 1 minute, I'm going to explain you about that. But if you already know about Relevel and you have registered yourself, then you can use this code RIT10 to get a free level sample test paper. Now, using this test paper, you'll be able to get an understanding of what kind of questions can be asked in your actual test and what pattern will be followed there. So it will be really good for you, right? Okay. Now, if you do not know what is Relevel, then let me tell you about it. Basically, the reason why Relevel came into existence is of following reasons. Many times candidates miss out on great opportunities due to multiple reasons, right? Now, the reason can be anything. First of all, let's say that a student is doing BSc, BCom, or any other kind of degree rather than BE or BTech. And if they are interested in IT field, they will be applying to 50-60 companies, but no company will give them a call for interview, right? The main problem there is that company looks for the degree, okay, and then directly rejects it, but they are not looking for the skill. Maybe you have the skill, but company is just rejecting you. The another reason can be that you are from B and BTech, you have graduated in B and BTech stream, but your college was tier 3. So most of the time companies reject those resumes who are from tier 3 college, because they want a good candidate, and that is basically from your uh, from your tier 1 or tier 2 colleges, right? Just 1 second. I need to. Pause the notification. 1 second. Okay, perfect. Let's go back. Yeah. So that is the reason, we came up with this Relevel. Now in Relevel, what is there? India, it is India's first test hiring platform by Unacademy, so which is helping job seekers find their dream jobs, and you can get a job based on your skill and talent, not on the degree or something else. So basically, here what happens is how we are going to judge on your skill and talent. We are going to judge on your skill and talent by the basis of a free test. So you have to give a free test. Now this test won't be easy. It will be of 1,000 marks, and you have to score above 700 to get eligible for it and get a profile based on your experience. And once you get a profile, once we'll design a profile for you, it will be shared with all the client companies which we are connected with. So over 50 plus companies, including top startups and unicorns, are getting connected with us, and 1,000 plus job positions across business development, front-end development, and back-end development are there. So there's a high chance that you will get interviewed and you can get hired as well, right? Now, how to register yourself in Relevel if you are interested to do that? So in the video description, you can find a link of Relevel. Click on it, it will take you to relevel.com. Once you go there, you'll be able to find a register button. When you click on it, you will be able to ask, they will ask for your mobile number and an OTP. Once you do that, you will come to this page, and in this page you have to select which test you want to give. So suppose that you have the skill on front-end development, select that and then move to booking a slot page, where you have to book a slot when you want to give the level test. Slots are limited, so I suggest you to book it fast. Okay, and then you have to fill in the details for the admit card. So full name, email ID, birth year, current state, gender, all of these things you'll be filling up, and then you have to apply the coupon code in this area. So the coupon code is RIT10. Do not forget to use that. Once you click on apply, once you click on create account, your account will be created with the sample paper in it. So once you open the sample paper, you will be able to get all the knowledge, what type of questions and what pattern type of questions will be asked in your actual test, and it will help you in guiding to crack the actual test. Correct. If you're not using the coupon code, you won't be able to get the sample paper, so make sure that you are using the coupon code. So please register it for today itself. If you have not done it, if you have already done it, then all the best for the actual test. And if you are not ready for the test, go ahead and see the playlist which all educators are taking, which all other sessions on CP, on DSA, on solving lead code questions, and solve front end, back end, Python, SQL. All of those sessions are going on. Have a watch, upskill yourself. When you're ready, come back and register yourself, right? Also guys, please do join the Telegram channel. The link is given in the description. Why? Because you will get all the notifications of when a particular educator is coming live with what topic at what time. So you will get all the updates here. Also, please do subscribe the YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so that you get an update and notifications in the YouTube app as well. Please like and share the video if you are liking it, and share it with your relatives and other friends and classmates. Tell that this free content is going on, and it's on the verge of the end, so they can start watching the playlist again and they can actually gain knowledge on front-end development. Okay. Now we are in the next topic, which is our objects, and we are going to understand how this objects work. We already know what is an object, we already know how to write it, but again we do not know deeply what is it, and in JavaScript how is it different from different programming languages, right? So that's what we are going to understand in this session, and let's get started with objects. Okay. Hi Jitender, hi Somu, welcome back. Okay, so let's get started. This is the Visual Studio Code, and I'm going to also open my browser. So everything is ready. Let's close this. Let's get started with one of the folder. Let's name this folder as objects, and let's not create a folder because I think a file will be enough for it. So I'm just creating an HTML file, not also a JavaScript. The codes will be really very small, so let's get started directly. So I'm just going to write here understanding objects in JavaScript. Let's save this. Let's open it with live server and let me just show you how is it looking like. So everything is ready, it is working, and now let's get started with creating objects. So hi Ajay Chaudhary. So the very first thing which we need to understand here is what is an object, right? And I have told you this many times that what is the difference between class and object, right? So if you do not know what is a class and object, don't worry. You can go ahead and watch the sessions, whatever I have shown you in my earlier sessions, and you'll be able to see what is the difference. But meanwhile, I'll just explain you in a very easy manner what is it. So class is basically like a blueprint, and this particular definition is very famous. You must be knowing till now about it. But again, do not use the word blueprint whenever you are attending an interview and he's asking what is a class. Try to not use the word blueprint. Try to explain it in a different manner. Just the way I have explained in the earlier sessions, like it's just that when you create something, when you start creating something, you start creating it up or designing it up or putting up all the informations in a sheet of paper, right? And that is what is a blueprint, correct? So that's what is a class also. And object is basically a real world entity of it. So whatever things you were writing it in the sheet of paper, you are converting it into a real world entity, and that's what is an object. Okay, so whenever class will be there, objects will be there. Okay, but in JavaScript, objects can be created simply, just like simply you can create an object. Okay, now one by one we'll see how do we create an object, what are the different ways to create an object, and how do we use functions with objects, how do we use variables with objects. All of those things we'll see, because when you talk about programming languages like Java and C++ and Python, objects play differently in all other languages. Okay, in JavaScript also objects play in a different manner. So let's understand what is so different about it. Now first of all, in JavaScript everything is an object. Okay, let it be a boolean or a string or a number or a date, math, these all things are nothing but an object. Okay, now when you talk about primitive values, we have something called as primitive values. Now these you already be knowing. If you know C language or Java language, you must be knowing what is primitive data type or what is a primitive value. The primitive value is a value that has no properties or methods. Okay, so this is just a value, and primitive data type is a data that has a primitive value, and these are basically string, number, boolean, null, and undefined. So if anybody is asking you that how many data types are there in JavaScript, you need to say this answer. So primitive data types are there, which is 5 in numbers. We have string, we have number, we have boolean, we have null, and we have undefined. You already know what is a string, you already know what is number, you must be knowing what is boolean, you must be knowing what is null and undefined, because in the hosting unit in the hosting session I have explained you the difference between these two. What is the difference between null and undefined? So you must be knowing about these two as well. These are primitive values, and these are basically immutable. Now what is the meaning of immutable? That you cannot change these. String values cannot be changed, number values cannot be changed. These are all immutable values. Okay, so once you have given it, that value can't be changed. Okay, now objects here in JavaScript are variables. Okay, so it can be written as, let's say if I'm writing here, let person equal to Aman. If I'm writing something like this, then here also you have person, right? This is acting as a variable. Okay, this is acting as a variable. But let's say that I'm writing here, let name equal to, I'm writing first name Aman and last name Gupta. If I'm writing something like this, then it is your object. So right now your name is an object. Now we can't say name it as an variable. We can say it is a reference variable. Okay. Why am I saying that? Because objects are variables too, but objects will contain many values, not only one value. So variable, when you say about variable, it contains only one value. But when you talk about objects, these are variables too, but we cannot say it as variable. These are basically having multiple values, and that's why it is an object. Okay, let me just include a script here. So that's why in most of the programs you must have seen, whenever I'm writing or creating an object, the objects are nothing but your those variables which are having more than one value, right? So those are nothing but your object. So this is the very first thing which you have understood about objects. One more thing you need to understand, that whenever you are creating an object, it is a good practice that you always give here const. Now, what is the meaning of const? You know that all our primitive values are strings, numbers, booleans, and null and undefined. And these are the values which you'll be using in your object, right? Nothing other than that. So when those are immutable, you need to give here const so that those values cannot be changed. It also depends on the program. Let's say that you don't want in your program, you do not need to have a constant value. You want to write a let, you can write let, but if whenever you create an object, it's a good practice that you always mention here const so that the values are constant. Now let's move ahead and let's try writing some more codes. So the same way how I've written here two values like first name and last name, we can add different values as well. So we can write here, let's say gender, let's say a character we are writing here, and then we can also write age. Here age, when you are writing, the double quotes won't be there, that you need to notice. And we can also write here the function. So directly we can write here full name, which is a function, and here we will just write that it's a function. Here the description of that function will come. Right now you can see here that it is becoming very clumsy. So what you can create here is you can do it in a different line, and that's how your object is always created. You should write all the different values in a different line. Okay, so this is how you need to write an object. This is the correct format of writing an object. Fine. Now creating a JavaScript object, when you're creating a JavaScript object, it can be created in many ways. First of all, you can create an object using an object literal, which you can see here. This is an object literal which we say. So let me just write here that you can create an object using an object literal. The second thing, you can create an object using the new keyword. This also I have taught you that how to use new keyword and what does that new keyword do. So if you're frequent to my sessions, you must be knowing what am I saying here. The next is that you can create it using constructor. You must be knowing what is constructor also. This is a special kind of function which is having the same name as your class name, and using that also we can create it. And the fourth one is we can create an object using object.create method. Okay, now this object which you can see here is a predefined class in your JavaScript, and inside that class we have a create method. That's how we are using the create method here to create an object. Now these all four methods are really good, and you can use all of them, and I'll be telling you one by one how to write all these and how to create objects based on all these four. But understand that the most easiest way to create an object is the first one, and always recommend that, always everybody recommends that please go ahead with it and do it with first one. Reason being, then the next one you are using a new keyword which is of no use. Even if you create like this, it's gonna create the object, so there's no use of new keyword as such, because it was there in other programming languages. You can create it using new keyword here also, so there's no use of that. Constructor, in some programs it may differ, you can use the constructor to create an object, but again this is also a waste. And object.create also is again an alternative. These all things you can do it using object literal itself. So try to avoid complications and try to make your code a really easy one. Okay, now using an object literal, how to create a particular program, let's understand. So here I'm going to remove this, and let's say I'm writing a code. So we have const name, first name, last name, and age, gender, and then a function. Here I'm going to remove this function, and first of all we are going to write some code. So here I'm going to just write paragraph ID demo, and in the script I'm going to print it up. So I'm going to write here document dot get element by ID demo dot inner HTML. Now you know what you have to do here, how to fetch the properties from an object. You have to use the object name, correct? So object name in the sense the name of the object. The name of the object here for me is name, so that's why I will be using name. So whatever is inside first name, last name, gender, age, if you want to fetch it, you have to use like this. So you have to say name, first name, and then whatever you want to print, you can print it. So I just want to print a space, and then name dot last name, right? So what am I doing here? When I've created the object, it's just like if suppose there's a person named as Aman Gupta who is a male and age 25. If you want to ask his name, what you will do? He's a real world entity. He's a real world identity. And if you want to ask his name, you have to go in front of him and you have to say, hey, how are you? What is your name? Right? So you'll be directly asking the object itself, right? That's what I'm doing here. I'm going to the object and I'm asking his first name. Okay, so remember in that way. Now if I save this and if I go back to my browser, I'm gonna get first name. Okay, so if you look here and the last name, I'm getting Aman Gupta. Okay, so this is how you need to fetch. Now you can understand what is nested objects and how you can write nested objects. I'll be able to tell you that later on. But just to make you understand, if suppose inside this first name, I'm writing one another name. Okay, that is a nested value. That means inside this first name, again, I'm creating an object. So again, how you will fetch that? You have to write name dot first name dot again the same, again the next keyword. Don't worry, I'm going to tell you that later on. So right now we'll just stay here. Okay, now suppose that what I'm doing here is all these properties which I have written here, right? I have written it here on the basis of that all these values are there included in my object, right? That's how I have mentioned it here. But suppose I want to keep the object at the first time empty. Okay, I want to keep it empty at the first, and then I want to add all the components inside it. So what I'll do here is I'll just delete this. And right now my object is totally empty. So do you think object will be created here? Do you think when I'm doing this, an object memory will be created? Let me know in the comment. Let me know in the live chat if object will be created in this case or not. So if this is empty, totally empty, whether the object will be created in this case or not. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just write this part. So what am I doing here? I'm basically adding some of our properties to it, right? I'm adding first name, I'm adding last name, and I'm adding gender and age, something like that. So here, some changes you have to do. You have to do an equal to here, first of all, because right now you're outside of your object. So you are putting your properties externally. So you need to make sure that you are doing it in this manner. Okay. So once you do that, what is happening? All your properties is getting added to the name object, first name, last name, gender, and age. And now if you hit, so these are all individual statement. Now if I save this and if I go back to my browser, this is gonna go give me Aman Gupta again. Okay. So the answer to, I can see there is no comment in the live chat about the answer. So basically when you do this, yes, the name object will be created, but it will not be considered as an object. It will be considered as a normal variable because you don't have any values inside it. Once you start giving the values inside it, multiple values, then it gets converted into an object. So at first it will be having an undefined value, just like one variable will be having. So in hosting and strict mode sessions, I have told you how the how in call stack all the values are getting stored. In the beginning, undefined values are getting stored, and then later on when you give the values, all those values are also getting stored one by one, right? So that's how you can do it. Now another thing is here, if you don't want to use object literal, if you want to use a different kind of approach, so the second one, if you can see here, is new keyword, right? So if you want to use that, you can use that as well, but any which ways, the literal one is most easiest one, so do not try to complicate your code. So you can do only this much. This is also going to do the same thing what your earlier code was doing. New keyword just gives an enhancement that it creates a memory block, separate memory block for an object, and that what is name, and that's how it works. So here also it's gonna work in the same manner. You don't have to do anything else. Okay, so this is your object, this is your keyword. Now till now, any doubt, anything which you want to ask? Any doubt, any questions? Any questions, guys? Okay, so let's move ahead. Now understand that all the objects, whenever you talk about objects, all the objects are mutable. Please understand this word. This word will be used many a times in your programming languages or in your freshers experience. Whenever you're going for an interview, this word will be there and they will be asking you questions based on that what is mutable, what is immutable. Now when you talk about mutable, that means the values can be changed. Of this immutable, values cannot be changed. Now when I say that values cannot be changed, values can be changed, that is not the actual value. Now understand what is happening here. So when I say objects are mutable, that means they're addressed by a reference variable and not by the value. Okay, so if suppose here a name is an object, right? If the name is an object, and let's say that I'm mentioning here const x equal to name. So what am I doing? I'm transferring my object values, all the object property values and everything to x, right? So is it like it will create a copy of this? That means, let's understand again. Name is already created, so that means one memory block will be there in your area, in your memory block. Name memory block will be there, right? Which is having all these things. Now what am I doing? I'm creating a copy of it, right? So what am I doing? I am assigning all the name values to x. Okay, but I am saying objects are mutable. So what's gonna happen? It will not create a copy of name. This is not gonna create a copy of name. Actually, X is name itself. So when I say objects are mutable, X is name itself. That means the name memory block will now become X. Okay. So either you fetch your values with X or with name. There is no change in that. So the object X is not a copy of name. It is name itself. Okay, it is the name itself. That's why we say objects are mutable. So you can pass the values of an object to a other variable. That is why it is called as mutable. Whereas immutable means you can't do the opposite. Okay. Now, if we talk about one example, let's understand with this. So let's do one thing. This is the object which I've created and I have added all the different properties. I have not added in the same way like writing it here, but I have done it in the different lines. So let's understand in that manner itself. Now later on what I'm doing is I'm doing const x equal to name, and here what I'm going to do, I'm going to change something. So let's say x dot, and I'm going to just type here. Maybe I have done some mistake in my age, right? So let's say x dot age, and I'm just going to mention here 26, right? And here I'm going to fetch here name dot age. Okay, so x dot age, not name dot age, right? Let's save this. Let's check out what is happening. So one second, let me comment this. Let's have a look. So you can see here it is still saying me 26. That means the value is getting changed, right? The value is getting updated. That means it is not treating x as a very different kind of variable. It is the name object itself. Let's come back and let's write here x dot age. Let's see what happens. If you look back, again it's giving me 26. So either you use x or you use name, it's gonna work, because here objects are mutable. So any name you can give, you can change its name anytime. Fine. So that's what is the object for you right now. Now let's move to the different examples and let's understand how can we access objects values. Here you can see access means like this. So we have used here name dot first name, we have used here x dot age. So in the similar manner, we can also write it in different ways. So the second way of writing this is basically a square bracket, and inside the square bracket, you will have to use double quotation. This is another way of fetching the value. Okay. So you can use here in this way. One more way is there to actually get the value. One way is just gonna write here object name dot property, which I was doing till now. The next is object name, then a square bracket, and then a property, right? And the next one is object name expression. Now expression is what? Expression can be anything. It can be a mathematical equation, or it can be assigning values. It can be anything such like that. So first of all, we have seen about the object name dot property. The very first one, we have seen how to do that. Let's observe this one, whether it is working or not. So this is your second example, which is object name square bracket double quote, and this is, you can consider it as the first example. Let's save this. Let's have a look. It is working. Okay, so it is working. Let's come back and let's now try it out in a different way. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to write these all functions in a normal way. So let me just change this. Let's not write it in this manner, but write it in this manner. I'm going to remove all of these things as I don't need it right now. Also, I'm going to give here a comma. Fine. So this is the way how I've written it right now. Let me just make it equal. Okay. So this is one of the object which is name, and here what I'm going to do, I'm going to change the code a little bit more. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a for loop here. Okay. And let's understand how the for loop works. So first of all, I'm going to take a variable which is empty, and here I'm going to use for, let's say I am using for in loop. So I'm using let y in name. I hope you remember how your for loop works. I'm going to use here x plus equal to name, and then here you will write about y, because what is happening here is using y, I'm using the variable y, which will go to each of the object's properties, and it will fetch all the properties, put it up in the screen in the wherever I am printing it. Okay, that is what I'm doing. I also add one space, or let's say I'm adding one br, so that everything is coming below. This is what I have written till now, and here I'm going to just mention the x, because everything is getting added into the x, right? Your all the values. So name 0 will have Aman, name 1 will have Gupta, name 2 will have M, and name 3 will have 25. All those values will get added with the br tag, and that's what is gonna print here, right? So that's how I'm fetching the values. Let's see whether it is working or not. So if I go back, there is some problem here because I'm not getting any output. Let's see what is happening. Syntax error, invalid shorthand property. Let's check out where is the error. Okay, I have given here equal to, as I copied this. Okay, now have a look. So you can see here, one by one it is giving me all the outputs, Aman, Gupta, M, and 25. So this is how the for in loop works to fetch all the properties. I hope you understood this. Let's see what is next. So suppose that here I want to add some another property. So let's say I want to add here name dot salary, right? And here I'm just going to give a salary, let's say this much. Okay, so what's gonna happen, whether it will add this as in your name object or not, or it will print it here or not, let's check out. So if I save this, have a look, it is printing it, right? So that is how you can add a new property. You can also delete some properties if you want. So how you can delete it, you have to just use a keyword which is delete, and it will delete any of the property whichever you will mention. So let's say that I'm writing here name dot, suppose gender I want to delete. So name dot gender, and let's have a look what is happening. So if I go back, you can observe here that the gender is not seeing here. So delete is the keyword to do that, and you can observe here that delete keyword is basically making sure that your gender is getting removed from the object. Also, how you're using name gender dot gender here, that is actually your object name dot property. You can also use it in this manner. So if you want to write it in this manner, you can mention it in this manner as well. Cool. So this is gonna again give you the same output. It's gonna remove the gender from your object. Fine. So wherever you're using this name dot property value, you can use it in all these three manners. There's no problem in that. Okay, let's move ahead and let's try some nested objects, because I told you that what is a nested object. So let's try it out and let's understand how we can carry on with that. So here, let's say after this, I'm going to use nested objects. Now, what is nested objects? That means inside an object, you will have another object and it will have its own values. So let's say here I'm just writing languages. Okay, the person knows different kinds of languages, and that's why I'm creating this particular languages nested object. Here languages is a nested object, not a function, because as you can see, it is not a function. We are not writing the function keyword and we are not writing the brackets as well. So this will act as an object. Again, why it will not act as an variable? Age, gender is here is called as property, right? Which is also considered as a variable. But in languages, it is not considered as a property or a variable, because I'm using a curly bracket and I know that I'll be putting here multiple values. So languages will act as a nested object. Okay, an object of name object. That's how it's gonna act. So let's say the first language which I'm putting up here is, let's say name1, and I'm just giving here Java, right? Similarly, next, so name1, name2, these all are nothing but your properties of the nested object, which is languages. So let's say I'm just putting up here it as C, and let's say I'm putting up here it as Swift. Okay, so these are the three values which I've given here. Now, first of all, let's understand, if I'm keeping up the same code, right? If I'm keeping the same code, the same for loop is there, the same output is there, whether it will print languages thing or not, let's try it out. Let's save this and let's go back. And if you see here what is happening, it is printing the first name, the last name, gender is getting deleted, then it is giving age, and then it is giving object. Now understand what is happening here. So when it comes to the nested object, it is understanding that it is creating an object, but I have not given the correct way of asking the values. Okay, here what have I done? In the code, I have written let y in name. So y goes to first name, prints the output. Y goes to last name, prints the output. Goes to gender, sees that it is deleted, so it did not print it. Goes to age, prints the output. Goes to languages, but have a look that it understands that it is an object, so I can't print it because user is not giving me a permission to go inside the object and fetch all the values. So I'm not gonna go inside it, and that's why it's giving object. And at the last, it is fetching a salary, and that's why it is printing the salary at the last. Okay, that means if I have to fetch the nested objects, I have to put up another for loop to get inside the nested object. Okay, so you need to tell JavaScript that, hey, I want you to go inside the nested objects as well to fetch the properties and values of that. So how will you do that? I'll tell you just after completing this. Let's read some comments. What is Jquery? Jquery is a library for JS. Good one. Amit, if we write delete name, then whole name object will be deleted. Let's try it out. So, but before that, I'm just going to remove these things. Okay, so you asked the question if you write delete name. So let's say I'm writing here delete name. Okay, and let's save this. So when I'm saving this, as you can see, nothing is happening. Okay, that means my name is not getting deleted. So delete keyword which you are using is basically to remove all the properties. It's not gonna delete the whole object. Okay, so here you are getting the output as you can see here. Let's move back to our code and let's remove this. We don't need this right now. And here what I'm going to do, let's comment this for now. We will be using the for loop again, but not now. And here I'm going to just write name dot age. If I'm using name.age, you are very sure that your output will be 25, right? But let's say that if I want languages, if I write languages, let's understand what is happening. When you're writing languages, languages is again an object. Name is also an object. So what you're doing here, you are doing object.object, right? You're calling an object using an object. Let's save this. Let's have a look what is happening. So if you look here, it is giving me the same output object, which it was giving me earlier, right? When it comes to languages, it is giving me that. How can I fetch any value from that? So what you have to do, inside languages, you need to tell that, hey, inside languages, I want name too. Okay, so if I save this, it is gonna give me C language. Okay, so this is how you need to call any of the nested objects. So if you look here, that's what we have done. We have done dot dot. So this is basically going inside and inside. Name is the object. Inside that we have one more object. Inside that, what is the property? That's what we have written here. Cool. So that's how you can fetch it. The other thing also what you can do is you can use it in a different way. As you can see here, I've told you this is the first way, this is the another way. So you can write it in that manner also. So let's say that I'm writing here in this way, right? This will also work. So if I save this, going back, this is giving me C. Again coming back, I can write this also in the same manner. Okay, if I save this, this is also gonna give me the same answer. Okay, so you can see here C is already there in my output, and these are different ways how I have tried to return the or calling the objects properties in this manner, right? So let's come back to the code. Just have a look how is it, and then we'll try to see what is this one, what is object name expression. Let me know if you have any doubts still here. Okay, now next part, what we are going to do here is we are going to use an expression. Now what is an expression? It can be anything, but let's make it much more easier for you. So what I'm going to do here is, let's say after creating the object, I have taken two variables. Let's say x equal to, and I'm going to give here name name 1, and let y equal to, I'm going to give here name 3. Also I can give here let z equal to languages. So what am I doing here is I'm just, as I said, your objects are mutable, right? So you can pass a particular object name to any particular variable name. So what I'm doing here, name 1 property value I'm giving it to x, name 3 property value I'm giving it to y, and languages I'm giving it to z. So does it mean that I can change my expressions? And you can see when you're using expression, there is no double quote, right? So this is what is an expression, correct? And I can use this expression. So I do not have to use this thing. I can just directly write here z, because languages is z, and then name 2. So let's say I want name 1 for now. Let's say x. So if I save this, I am gonna get the output of, one second, anything wrong? One second, let me show you the output first. Yeah, so you can see there's nothing coming. Let's check out what is happening. Uncaught difference, name 1 is not defined. Let x equal to name 1, I have defined it. Okay, sorry. You have to give a string value, right? We can't just write name 3. You have to give a double quote here, so that, yeah, so now you can see here it is giving me Java. right? Obviously the mistake is there because you are passing a value, assigning a value should look like a value. I was simply writing it, so it was not being able to understand what I am passing. Right now it does understand, and why it is printing me Java, the basic answer is that name1 is having Java, and that's what I'm putting into X, and that's what I'm writing here. So it is just fetching it. This is what is object name expression. So you can use in this manner also to call the objects, right? I hope you got the difference between all of those things. Now let's understand how we can use nested objects and nested arrays. Now understand, nested objects is this one, right? Nested arrays means that inside a nested object, you are creating an array. What does that mean? That means I don't have these property values. I have an array instead. So I don't have only one value to this, but I have different number of values here, right? So how we are going to write a code for that and how we are going to fetch the values, let's understand. So here what I'm going to do, let's say, because it's an array which I'm creating, so I'm going to remove this. I'm going to give a square bracket, and in this I'm going to give some values. Okay, so in the languages there are so many things which we can put here. So let's say that I'm putting up here it as name. Let's say I'm giving it here as Java. Again, this is an array which I'm creating, so it will have a number of values. So the array can be, let's say, versions, right? It can be an let's say I'm just writing first, second, third. So these are the three values which I've given here in the first one. In the next one, again, I'm going to give name. Let's say C. Let's say versions. And again, we'll have these some values. So let's say I'm going to put up here as 3.2. Fourth, and I'm going to also put one more value. So let's say I'm giving here name, Python, version. Let's say I'm putting up here it as 5 and 2.4, something like this. So this is the values which I've given. Now understand, this is an nested array, and these are all the objects which I have written. These all are nothing but your nested objects. Now understand, I'm not going to use any expressions and all anymore. So I'm going to just remove this. And to fetch this, I have to use a for loop. So let's understand how to use that. Now, whenever you're using for loop, understand that there are two loops which will go here, because you have nested things. And whenever we say that we have something nested, we always use two loops or more than that, so that it goes deeper inside that, right? So how we are going to do it here, we are going to say let x in. Now here the object name, the name of my object is name, so I'm going to use that, and it is going inside the languages object, so I'm going to go inside that. Now inside that I need to print something. So let's say I'm just printing here x plus let's say I'm giving here a h2. So this is basically the heading which I'm giving, and to the heading I want to print the very first item of my languages. So let's say, one second, I can't directly go to languages. I have to first go to name, and then I have to go to languages. And in the languages, because it's an array, as you can see, the square bracket is used. So I have to use the square bracket, where I'll be using one second, this cannot be X. Yeah. So here I'll be using I. So each one of the values it will go, and from each one of the values it will fetch the name. Okay. From each of the values, in the sense that from each of the value, all the values from each of the values, it will fetch the name. It's gonna print it in H2. Okay. So I'm gonna close it now. So just closing the tag, and this is the first thing which I've done. So what I've done, I've told it that, hey, you need to add all the names from all these languages and to print it in H2 in a bold way. So all the names one by one will be fetched. Languages 0, languages 1, languages 2. For 0, what is the name? For 1, what is the name? For 2, what is the name? Everything will get printed now. The next thing what we are going to do is we are going to put up another for loop. Why? Because we have to go inside the nested array, which is the versions array. So for that we'll need another array. I'm using here let j because we have already used. So we are using j, and it will go inside name dot. Here you can see what I've written. I've written name dot languages, right? Obviously, because I just wanted to go it inside languages, but right now I wanted to go inside languages inside versions. So what I have to do here, languages dot versions, because I need to go inside this nested array. So I've written here versions, and I'm going to again give the same things, and here I'll add it to my list. So name dot languages, here I will have I because that's the first value, and then I will have versions, and for this I'll have j. Right, this is how you do write a code of for nested for loop in any programming language, right? That's what I'm doing here. So let's give a break here, and this is done. Here I'm just gonna print X because that is having all the output. So again, let's understand what is happening one by one. So here what is happening, first of all, I've written let I in name.languages. So let I be 0 first of all. So it goes to 0th value, that is your H2 name.languages 0.name, which is Java. So in bold it will write Java for me. After that it's gonna come back. So it's gonna come here, it's gonna say let j in name languages versions. So j is 0. So name dot languages 0, languages 0 is this one. Version 0 is which one? First. So it's gonna print first. Again, always we say that in nested loop the inner loop should get first completed. So we will have to first complete this inner loop. J0 is already done, it has printed first. So it's gonna make j as 1 now. So name.languages 0, languages 0 is again this one, and it says versions 1. What is versions 1? Second. So it's gonna print second. Again j will become 3. Name.languages 0, languages 0 is again this one, but the versions is 2. So versions 2 is third. So it's gonna print that. Okay. Once it observes that j is now finished, it's gonna go back to I and will increase I from 0 to 1. Once it becomes 1, it's gonna print C in a heading format, and then it's gonna print all those one by one in the same manner. So let's save this. Okay, again there is some error. So let's understand what is it. Uncaught reference, X is not defined. Somewhere I have written a wrong code. Let me see, where is it? Which line number? 25. Okay, I did not declare the X variable. Here I have used X, but I have not declared it. So let me just write here. Okay, if I write X equal to here, you can see what is happening. It is just giving me the first loop. That means only the first loop is running. The next loop is not running. It is because I have given the variable in a wrong location. So this should not be here. It should be in the beginning. 1 second. I think there's a problem in the loop itself. Name.languages.versions. Name.languages.versions. Yeah, I did that, Amit. Let j in name.languages.versions. Okay, when I'm writing name.languages.versions, j should be knowing in which line number it is going, right? J in name.languages, I is written here, but I have not written I here. So it's the j should know in which row it is going, whether it is the first one, second one, or third one. So I have to mention that there. Okay. Let's have a look. So I am getting for Java, I am getting for C, I'm not getting for Python. So again, there is some problem in Python ones. Let's check out what is happening. 1 second. Let's try it out in this manner. There is some problem here. Just check out what is the problem, why Python is not working. If these two are working, that means problem is okay. Versions, you can see here versions, that's the problem. So now it will show me the output. Okay, these things will come when you're writing a big program. Some syntax error will be there and you need to figure it out. So that's how your nested object and nested array works. Have a look for some time because this is something new for you. You have never done anything like this before. So have a look at this one very closely, because this one is a bit tedious logic. If you've done already programming languages, if you've done a nested looping, it will not be very hard for you, but just have a look once. If you have not understand this for loop, anybody, please do let me know in the comment chat. I will be able to explain you this again. Okay, so that's your nested array and nested object at one time. Okay, next we are going to see the methods. So please do let me know if you have any doubts. We are just taking some break, and then we are going to continue again. Please do let me know if you have any doubts. So meanwhile, I'll just comment this portion. Maybe I will use this later on, and I will also delete this. Here, I'm going to now mention a function, because functions, we know how to use this here, but there are certain other ways how you can use it. So let's try that out. So here what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just write full name and I'm going to give a function here. So let's say this is how you give a function. So I'm just giving that. This is your general function. How do you give it in an object? So that's what I've given. Full name is the name of the function. And here I'm going to return some values, so that once I call this particular function, it's gonna print me whatever I want to print here. So here, let's say this dot last name. Cool. After this, I have to call the function. So here I'm going to put up a calling function, but I just can't directly call the function because it is inside an object. So I have to write name dot full name. Something like this I have to do. Let's save this. Let's check out whether I'm getting the full name or not. So yes, I am getting it. I am getting Aman Gupta here. Okay. This is how you write a normal function, and it is working fine. Okay. Now, this keyword, I've already explained you what is this keyword, and I hope you must be knowing how to use this keyword. So you are getting the output of that. This keyword is basically referring to this element or this object. So from this object, what is the first name, what is the last name? That is what it is getting you and giving you in the output. Let's say what I'm going to do here is I'm going to remove this brackets from here, right? what is the meaning of this? If I'm removing this bracket, obviously one thing is I'm sure that it's not calling the function, because that's not a correct syntax of calling the function. So let's see what happens if I do this. So if I go back to my browser, you can see here it is returning the whole function itself. So it's just like variable, right? What is happening in variables? A variable will have its value. So when you call the variable, it gives you the value, right? In the same way, when you are working with functions, to call the function, you have a different syntax. The syntax is that you put up a parenthesis here, right? But if you're not putting up the parenthesis, then it's gonna give you the value. So you can see here, full name works as a variable. Full name is a variable which is working as a function, right? But this variable, if I want to print it, this is gonna print me the value of it. So it's printing this whole thing in my output. So understand that, because this kind of questions will be asked in your MCQs for 1 or 2 marks. It can be asked because here things get tricky. So they can remove the only the parentheses, and they'll ask what will be the output of this, right? So these things can happen. Please observe that. Okay. Now what next we are going to do here is we are going to add a method to an object. Okay, so here what I've done, I've added a property which is itself a function to an object. But now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a method to an object. So I'm not going to write something like this, but later on I'm going to add a method. So how we can do that? In the similar manner how you do it for your variables, in the same manner you have to do it. So first of all, you will write your function, object name, and then you will write your function name. Okay, and then the procedure is same. So you have to just write here the same things, whatever you wrote in the first code. Okay, so this should give me the answer once again. Is there something wrong? Function. Let's check out. Am I not calling the function? Yes, I'm not. Okay, so it is working. This is how you can add methods to any properties, any object, basically outside, that is externally. So I hope you understood this. Any doubt till here, please do let me know. These things we have already done in many of the other sessions, so I hope you don't have any problem in this. Now what we are going to do, we are going to do some changes in the code. So here what I'm going to do is, let's say I want this dot first name, this dot last name. I'm putting up it inside a parenthesis, and I'm going to use a predefined method here. So let's say I'm using here to uppercase. Okay, and this is also functions. I'll be using a parenthesis. Let's save this. Let's check out whether my output is coming in a uppercase or not. So yes, it is coming. So you can do that as well. You can add any particular predefined function which does the task for you. Likewise, we have two lowercase and we have other functions as well. So anytime you can use this in your functions. So that will be using your built-in methods or predefined methods. Fine. So that is one thing. I hope you understood that. Any doubts, please do let me know. Any doubts, please do let me know. Otherwise, we'll move to the next concept. I think other things already we have told you. Let me just check out what is something new which you should be knowing. Okay, so we have a built-in method which I have not told you about any at any time. So this is basically called as object dot value. Okay, and this is basically to get all the values from your object, whatever object you're creating directly. You don't have to mention anything else. It will directly fetch all the values. So this also you can use. Again, you can see here this object is like already a predefined class, and of that this values is a property. And here if you look, we have the object created. We have a function also created. So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to just directly write object dot values. Please understand this object which I'm writing is having a capital O. So it's not the object which this object. No, it is not that. Okay. Anywhere else wherever I've written small o. So that's, I am referring to the name object. But here this object, capital object, is the predefined object. So I'm using like this. And here I'm going to, in the bracket, I'm going to put up the object name so that it knows which object you are trying to call. So if I save this and if I go back to my browser, as you can see what is happening, it is giving me all the properties values. So it's giving me first name, last name, gender, age, and then the whole function itself. Okay. Again, this whole function which I'm writing, I'm not calling it because this is the whole value which is there in my object. So that is why it is getting printed totally. Okay. So this is one of the predefined method which you can use. The other one is amazing one, because here you will understand a lot of things about JSON. So let me just introduce it to you. This is the another function. This is json.stringify. So let me just explain to you what is this in a easy manner. So let's say that you have a registration form, okay? And you must be knowing what is a registration form. You have a form in which it is asking your full name, last name, every detail, age, date of birth, everything, right? And then when you click on submit, it gets submitted, right? But where is it getting submitted? In what format is it getting submitted? You don't know any of it, correct? So when you submit a form, it goes to the backend, obviously, because from the backend, it has to go to the database to get saved somewhere, right? Your data will be saved somewhere in the database. So obviously, how you're filling up the data is not going to the backend in the same manner. So it gets converted into a JSON format, which is called as JavaScript Object Notation. I'm just going to write it here. JavaScript Object Notation. How to access the nested object values, object inside object, and traverse through them. Sudo, I have already explained you this. Go a little bit back and half an hour. I have explained how to access object from a nested object. Go and check that out. I did wrote that code and explained it in a very good manner. So just have a look. JavaScript Object Notation. It is called as JavaScript Object Notation because all the object values, whatever you are going to present it in or display it in the web page or the browser, this is how it's gonna notate it. Okay, so in the backend also, JSON is a format in which your data will be sent back to the backend. Okay, so understand, whenever you're filling a registration form or a login form, and when you click submit, all the data is getting converted into a JSON format, and then it gets go to the backend. Okay, why is it happening so? Because once it is getting converted into a JSON format, it becomes really easy for the backend and databases to understand what data values are there. And what is this format? How do we write this format? Let me tell you about it. So basically this JSON format is having key and a value pair. Okay, so key and a value pair means name colon Ritwik, last name colon Raj. So key and a value, right? Key is first name or last name, and your values are nothing but the values which I have given, Ritwik or Raj, anything, right? So json.stringify basically makes all my values converted into a JSON format. Okay, so if one example, if I show you, I have already have one particular object here. Let's remove this function for now because I can't call it right now because I'm just showing you how to print it. So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to just write json.stringify. Okay, now if I save this and if I show you what is happening, you can see here this is the format in which my JSON is coming. Okay, now understand what is happening basically. So I have not written in the same format in my code. I have written it in a different format. Can you see? So in this format, I have written an object, right? Now what is happening? This name object is getting stringified. That means everything is converted into a string and then into a JSON. Okay. So when I'm coming back, this is the JSON format in which my data will be saved. So if I have a registration form and if I put up all these values inside that, and if I click on submit, in this manner, it is going back to the backend. In this manner, it will go. Suppose if I have nested objects, again, it's gonna show you in the same manner. It's gonna put up it in a nested string, nested objects, converting into a string and then presenting it to in a JSON format. So this is what is the JSON format. I hope you understood what is JSON here now. Okay. Explanation of JSON is really very easy, but doing it practically makes sense. So when you connect with backend, when you connect with Python or something, and then you see that when you're filling a data and you're clicking on submit, it goes to the Python backend and it shows their JSON data. That's when you feel, you feel very happy, because that is one of the moment which every developers, I guess, experienced, right? So once you convert or pass any data from front end to back end, that's when you feel very happy. So we will do that also when we'll learn React, so don't worry. But yeah, this is what is the JSON. Let's come back to the code and let's try to do one more example of JSON. So here I'm going to do it in a date format. Okay, so let's say that after age, I'm just typing it here, current date, and I'm just going to create a object of date function. I hope you know what is this. I hope you know what is the date function. I have explained you this many a times. So here what I'm going to do, json.stringify name, and let's understand what is happening. So if I show you my browser, you can see here it is giving current date 2021 11/22, time 6:47. Something is written here, right? It's our timings and all. So basically what is happening, it is giving me the current date and current time. So why is it giving me that? Because obviously current date is having my date thing, but stringify is converting into a string and then presenting it to in a JSON format. So any kind of predefined functions will work here. There'll be no problem in that. Okay. Functions also you can do the same thing and it's gonna give you the answer. So here there is something unique about functions. So let's say that I am putting up it here, right? I'm just uncommenting it. So can I say that full name function is always there here? Yes, it is there because it's a property which I've added. Now when I do this and if I save this and if I go back to my code, you must be thinking that this function name will be coming, because once I was doing it only for the name without using json.stringify, just displaying it, it was displaying the function. Obviously it will not call the function because I'm not written a code for it, but I'm just saying json.stringify name. Understand that json.stringify will not stringify functions, because functions are nothing but a data which is different from a variable or a value or a property, something like that, right? So if you see at the output, there is no sign of functions here. It is not even telling you that there was a function in your code, but there is a function in my code, right? So understand that json.stringify will not present you any output if it is a function. Okay, that's one of the thing about stringify, json.stringify. Let's understand something else. So let's say I'm commenting all of these things and I'm just creating a array. So I'm just writing const and names. Here I'm just putting up some values. So let's say I'm just putting up here it as Aman, Rohan, Kiran. Some three values I've given. Uh, as you know, this is an array, so I'm going to just write here json.stringify names. Okay. Now, when I do that, obviously arrays can be reacting as a property or a variable or a value, so it will print something. Let's have a look what is happening. So if you look at this, understand json.stringify is not creating a JSON format. Can you see? JSON format, when I say it should be having a curly bracket and all of those things, but it is not doing that. Now understand why it is not doing that. It should have done that, but understand that the thing which I want to access is an array. So an array is having its own property that it should be surrounded by a square bracket, right? So JSON cannot change its format. JSON will retain its format. It is still a JSON, but it is containing an array. Okay, so that's why the format is not changed. It is in JSON. It is a JSON, but it is containing an array format, an array value. That's why it is printing it in this manner. Okay, so have a understanding of all these things. These questions can be asked in an interview, that JSON Stringify works in which options, right? Or not in which options. These questions can be asked in this manner. So that is what is your display. So do we need a JSON viewer for the browser? Abdullah, hi Abdullah. JSON viewer, yes, it will be necessary, but when you are doing backend code, then right now it is not. When you are learning Angular, Node.js, React, then you will need to see the JSON, and you'll be able to see it in the backend itself, in the console itself. So don't worry about that. You need a viewer? Yes, you can. There's no problem in that. So let's learn the last topic. The last topic is basically the getters and the setters. You must be knowing what is it. So we have some getters and setters to get the value and set the value. So we can use that in an object. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just uncomment this portion. Okay, so we have the object here. I'm going to just remove this as well. And here I'm going to use a getter. So let's say I'm using here a get value, and let's say I'm using here age or years old. Return this dot age. Fine. I'm going to comment this portion. Let's bring this above. Now I'm not going to use json.stringify because I have something else. We are using getter and setters. This is the get value, and you can see get value is what? Basically a get is a function which is years old, a new function which is returning this dot age. So let's say that I'm writing here name dot years old. Okay, when I'm doing this, if I save it and have a look what is happening, so it is giving me 25. Okay, but did you notice something? Did you notice that here when I'm using years old, I am not giving any brackets here. If this is a function, I should have called it using my parenthesis, because that's how you do function calling. But right now this is not a function. Though what is this? This is basically a getter which you're writing. Okay, so JavaScript getter is written using the keyword get. Okay, and setters are written using the keyword set. So getter means this is creating another getter which gets the value for you individually. So I'm just writing names.years old, and it is fetching me the value of this dot age. You can write any logic here, but right now I'm just printing this dot age. So this is what is your getter. Now let's understand how setter works. So let's see if I'm writing here set, and because it's a setter, that means I have to set a value. So it's not going to return anything, right? It's going to set something. So what I'm going to do here is going to take the parameter, because obviously I have to set a value. So I have to have parameter and an argument. So I'm going to take that. And here I'm just going to say that make this age is equal to old. So basically this old parameter, whatever argument value will come inside this, that is gonna get assigned to this age value, which is written here. Okay, but I need to put up the another value, the updated value. So I need to put up that. Now what I'm going to do here is name dot, because it's the object name dot, and I'm going to use here old, and here I'm going to just say 28. Okay, so this is what I have given. Now let's understand whether it is working or not. Just one thing more I have to do here. I have to just change this to age, because I want age now. So let's save this, let's check out, and you can see here it is printing me 28. So what is happening here? Let's understand that. So if you look here, we are setting a value, right? So when we are setting a value, I have given a name to this setter, which is old, taken a parameter. This parameter is having a value 28, which is going back here, and then I am putting this 28 to the property of this object name, which is age, and then I am printing it up. So it is giving me 28. What if I am putting up here it as old? If you look here, it is undefined. Okay, why is it undefined? Because nowhere I have given the old value as 28, right? I have given the old value as 28 here, but that is for the object, and also it is for passing the value. But in real time, runtime, what is happening in runtime? The value which is getting changed is of age, not of old. Old is just taking the value to put it up inside the, and old is basically not a variable. It is basically a setter. So you can't do that. Okay. So this is what is your getter and setter, and you can do this also in your functions as well. So let's understand how it works there. So any questions till now? Okay, so I'm going to use the same function which we have here. Let me just comment this, and let me bring this up here. Okay, so let me remove the comments. Okay, now what I'll do is, let's remove this. So I have a function which is a full name, and then I'm treating it as a function. Let's do something. Let's change it to a getter. So how I'm going to change it to a getter? I'm just going to remove this, and I'm just going to write here get full name, something like this. So this is again a function which is a getter, and it is returning some values. Let's say that is returning a value in uppercase format itself. And also here, I think I need to close the curly bracket. Okay, and in the document.get in my ID, I'm going to write name dot full name. Again, I'm not giving any parentheses here. I know this is a function. Again, this is not a function. Basically, it's a getter. When you give get keyword, that means it's a getter. Let's check out what is happening. So you can see here it is working fine. Okay, so with functions you can also do it, but you need to make sure that you are using a get keyword in your code. So that's how you do it for get in your in your keyword. Now, what is the difference between a function and a getter and setter? Why you are using that? Because it gives you a simpler syntax, right? A more easy, simpler syntax. It allows equal syntax for properties and methods, whether it is a variable or a function. It is having the same syntax, whereas in variable you have a change, right? You need to write the name of the function equal to the function keyword, all those things, but here you're not doing all of those things here. It can secure better data quality, so that is also the third point, and it is useful for doing things behind the scenes, right? So those are some of the different advantages of getter and setter. Also, please understand what is the difference between function and a getter and setter. In function you call it using the parenthesis, but here in getter and setter we are not doing that, so please do not get confused in that. You need to make sure you know what happens in getter and setters. We do not use here the parenthesis. Okay, cool. Now let's move to the next one, which is the constructor, and this is our last topic, so let's understand how do we do that. So constructor, we all know that this is a special function which is having the same name as the class name, right? And if we have a class, we'll have the constructor also for that. So let's create a program for it, and let me show you how does this work. I'm going to remove all of these things for now, and let's start writing a code from the scratch. So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a function, and let's say the function is name, and here we'll have some properties of it. Earlier we were creating the object, right now I'm creating a function, so do not get confused. This dot first name equal to first. Again, this dot last name equal to last. I hope you understand what is this, so there's no doubt in this. This dot age equal to, one second. Okay, let's write age itself. Let's not change the name. And this dot gender equal to gender. Or okay, fine. So this is my function which I have created, and I have given a line. I have assigned the values to it. I now need to pass the arguments to it, the values to it. So let's do that. Let's say I'm keeping a constant value, and this I'm just going to put up it as person equal to new name, and here I'm going to pass the values. So first is the name, so I'm going to just do that. Next is my last name. Then I have an age, so let's say 25, and let's say here I'm putting up the gender, so let's say male. This is the values which I have passed. Now I need to print it, so I need to go document.getAlien by ID. Okay, and here I'll be putting up demo because that's where I need to print it, and I'm going to do inner HTML. Here I'm going to just write person dot age. Let's have a look what is happening here. Okay, now what I'm trying to do here is I'm just using a simple example which is considered as a good practice to name constructor functions with an in this manner. Okay, in this manner. So I'm using a constant, I'm using a variable which is person, which is an object, if you can see, right? So you can see here that I've created a function name. This is the constructor of that, from which I'm passing the argument. So obviously we know that if I'm creating a constructor which is having the same name as the function, you can also create a class that's not gonna do any change. Here I'm just creating a function. So if I am creating a constructor passing the values, these values will go here, right? And it's gonna give or assign all the values to all these variables, okay, which are the variables of this function. And this person is an object which is containing all of these things. All of these things is contained inside this person. So I'm using person.age. Now let's see whether it is giving me the output or not. So yes, it is giving me 25. Obviously it will give. But what if I'm writing here person dot, let's say first, okay, not first name, but first. If I save this, you can see here it is giving me undefined. Okay, let's come back and let's understand if I'm giving here first name. So if I give that, it is giving me Ritwik. Cool. So I hope you understand what is happening here. Basically, person is an object which is telling me that, hey, in my constructor, when an object is getting created, constructor is getting called, and all the argument values are getting passed to the function. Then I am changing the assignment. So I'm assigning all these current values to a different variable. Age name was not changed, and that is why when I wrote age, it was giving me the output. If I would have written here capital A, it would have given me the output. If I would have written small age, it would have not given me any output. Okay. Why is it not giving me any output in first, last, age and gender? This question can be asked in an interview. Why is it not printing any value in this? Because you are assigning the values inside this main part. That means inside the blueprint, right? So inside the blueprint, you are making some changes. When you're making some changes in the blueprint, that means it's a fixed change, because this blueprint will be shared to all your clients and customers. Let's say that you are creating a Lamborghini, right? So when you're creating a Lamborghini car, you must be having a blueprint where you will have all the designs and you will write all the functionality there, right? You will write everything there. If you're making any changes to that pamphlet or to that blueprint, that change will also go to all your clients and customers who have the Lamborghini car, right? So they will also understand that, okay, this change has been made. Maybe my Lamborghini car color has been changed, or maybe height is increased. All those changes will occur, and those are permanent changes, right? So here also we are doing permanent changes. We are converting our variables into a different variable name, and that's what is now a new update in our blueprint. So it's something like we are updating things, right? So again, the same thing. It can be a function, it can be a class, it can be anything, whatever you need. Here we can create different objects as well. So we can have const, let's say person1, right, with new values. Yes, we can have something like this also, and we can call it anytime. So let's say that here I am bored of person, so I'm going to call person1 dot first name. Okay, if I save this, I should get Ritwik and Aman. So I'm getting Ritwik and Aman. The Ritwik is the from the first person, that is the first object, and person1 is the second object. So that's how you can do this as well, right? Any doubts still here? Any doubts still here? Please do let me know. Otherwise, we'll move to the next part. We'll create a function as well. So here I'm just going to create a function as well for my object. So what I can do here is I can write here person dot let's say full name, right? And then I can put up here it as a function, and I can call this. So I can have here anything. I can have return this dot. Now here first name, instead of printing it in the exact part, you are putting up it in the function itself. This dot last name. This is what I've written inside the function. So now you don't have to do it again in here. So what you have to do here is you have to just call up the function. So no need to write this. You need to just write full name. calling the function. So if I do that, it should give me an output which is Ritwik Raj. If I just change the object name, it's gonna give me Aman Gupta. I'm just going to put up here person one. I'm going to put up here person one. Let's save this. It's gonna give me Aman Gupta. Okay, so this is what is your using functions, how you can use your object in a different way by calling the by using the constructor. Okay, what else? So yeah, you can use also this function here as well. I have just added it externally. You can write it here as well. How you will write it? Basically, you will write it in this dot full name and then equal to function and then the same thing. So in the same manner, you can do that. I hope you can do that. That's why I'm not showing you that. Cool. So these are the things which I wanted to explain you in objects, and I hope you have understood a lot about objects. And now if I explain about anything else in advanced JavaScript like lexical scope or how call stack works, where is object placed in your memory, how all those things works, now it's gonna be very easy for you, right? So now that you know about classes, objects and everything in JavaScript, is a great time to talk about advanced JavaScript. So I'll just take some more 15 minutes and just explain you what are the next topics which we are coming up with. So let me just explain about this. Today, maybe at the night, if I'm okay, I'll be taking, and if I don't have any work, I'll be taking one session on advanced JavaScript. Oh no, sorry, on closers. As I promised, I'll be taking one class on closers. And please write it somewhere if you want to write it, that tomorrow and day after tomorrow, we will have only JavaScript sessions, okay? Only JavaScript sessions. So there'll be no CSS, there'll be no HTML. Tomorrow and day after tomorrow, there'll be only JavaScript sessions because I think I'll be taking 4 hours per day tomorrow and day after tomorrow. And we'll be covering all the advanced concepts of JavaScript, okay? All the advanced concepts of JavaScript, name it anything, we are going to complete that by tomorrow and after tomorrow. If suppose by tomorrow and after tomorrow, that means 8 hours. If I'm not being able to complete everything, there's a high chance I'll be able to complete everything. But suppose if I'm not being able to complete everything, I'm going to add an extra class to complete the advanced JavaScript. But I'm not going to leave any topic. We are going to cover everything, okay? So make sure that you are joining tomorrow's and day after tomorrow's session because it will be totally on JavaScript and it will be really helpful for you to understand React also. So please do join those sessions as well, right? Today, I'm going to come up with CSS interview questions at 3 p.m. I believe. 3 p.m. I'll be coming up with CSS interview questions, and 8 p.m. I'll be coming up with closers. Okay, 8 p.m. I'm not sure, so don't wait for it. You will get an update in the Telegram, but let's see if I can. Okay, so these are the two things which I wanted to explain you, and I hope you have understood this. Object also, I hope you are clear what is it. If you are clear, then please give me a thumbs up. Everybody who is watching, please give me a thumbs up if you have understood what is an object, everything in and out of it. There are a lot more things about, because it's a very huge topic, there are a lot more things about it, but whatever you need to know as an interviewer, as for an interview perspective, I have explained you that and the reasons behind each and everything. So if any questions will be asked, you will be able to answer it now. Okay, so please join the Telegram channel as well, so that you get an update in your Telegram channel as well for all the different sessions when I'm coming live, when other educators are coming live with what topic at what time. So all these updates will be there in Telegram channel as well. Also, please do join the YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel and also hit the notification bell so that you get an update in the YouTube app as well. If you have liked this session, really you have liked it, then please share it with your relatives and your friends so that all other people will also get to know about it and they will be taking the benefit of free course content. Okay, guys, if you are there, then please let me know and please give me a thumbs up if you have understood this, or just say all clear and anything will work. So thank you so much, guys. Bye bye. I'll meet you at 3 p.m. with all CSS interview questions.